Welcome back to the We Are More Than Moms podcast. And today we are doing a bit of a hot topic, a controversial topic, which is about gender and gender disappointment. So something sparked this thought.
You have to tell your story, what happened to you.
Okay, I'm going to share my story about what happened to me because this is what sparked a reel that got a lot of engagement and this podcast. So I was out with the fam. We were doing a little shopping Sunday. And the sales associate said to me, "Are you going to have more children?" And I was like, that comment doesn't bother me. It doesn't, at least for me. But I have a canned response, which is, my hands are currently full, but we'll see what the future holds. And I am very much the mentality, like, I could be very happy with just 2, but, who knows in a couple of years what will happen. And she changes the tone. The whole conversation goes sideways when she said to me, "Well, it's amazing to have a daughter." And in that moment, I responded to her saying, "I have 2 sons and I'm very happy having them." And she said, "Well, I'm blessed to have one of each." And in that moment, I was like, first of all, rude, boomer. But second of all, what really struck me was I'm sick of this conversation of what you have, your family dynamic isn't enough. And I think a lot of us moms, whether you choose to have 1 child or you have 3 of the same gender or 2 of the same gender, you're always someone is always going to say something to you like, your family is not complete unless you have a boy to carry on the name, a girl.
And maybe they don't say it, but they kind of have this underlying inkling when they ask the question. So they don't automatically say it like the sales associate.
Yeah, it was very direct.
But a lot of people are like, oh,
are you going to try for the girl?
Okay, but let me ask you a question.
Yes.
So when you found out that Luke was a boy, your second was a boy, did you have any inkling of disappointment?
There was definitely this feeling of, I'm not going to experience having a daughter, for sure. Like, when I found out, I really was like, oh, because we were like, we're stopping at 2. We do not want to go for number 3. And I was like, okay, I'm never going to experience that part of my life.
And you also came from 3
kids. I have 2 sisters.
Yeah.
But, so yeah, that there was a point of me, and I think I feel like that should be normalized in the sense of we should be allowed to, 2 things can be experienced at once. We should be allowed to mourn what could have been, but also be super grateful. And I am so grateful and lucky, and I think about this all the time, for my fertility journey and the way it's unfolded. And let me tell you, for anyone who's listening out there who does have that gender disappointment, even if it's just a bit like what could have been, once my second came into this world, there has been none of that feeling, because
you're meant to.
And then I was like, I understand why people don't find out, because you don't know the baby you're about to, but when they're in your stomach, it's a very different feeling than when your baby's here. So I really do understand. I was like, wow, I understand why people wait, because you're, you are disappointed or you're feeling something, but when your baby comes, it really doesn't matter. And of course, you just want a healthy and happy baby, but there usually are those feelings of that can happen.
Yeah. Well, I have a boy and a girl, and I remember when I found out
what did you find?
I found out that Griffin was a boy, could have gone either way. If it was a girl, I would have been happy with the 2 same-sex siblings, because I think that's beautiful, but I was also really excited to experience a boy. But I was also very shocked because my family is all girls, so I really didn't expect that I would have a son. I'm very, very grateful for him. But now it's funny because the question I now get is well, you don't have to have a 3rd because you have a boy and a girl. And it's well, maybe I do want a 3rd. So it's just so funny that the canned response or the canned question when you have 2 of the same sex is, are you trying for a girl or boy, right? But then the canned question for, if you already have a girl and a boy is oh, you're stopping at 2. You can't kind of win. People always want to comment about your situation.
That's very true. I feel like people make it about gender and not about the amount of kids you want in your family. And there was actually, I can't completely write it off that I was I felt 2 things at once, because yes, I was mourning a daughter, but I was like, wait, if I have a second boy, I don't have to buy any clothes. I don't have to, the programs will be the same when they get old enough. It's going to matter, especially with their age gap. they'll be best friends.
There's a lot of pros.
There's a lot of pros, and here's the thing, and which is amazing, is that you're never going to get all of it, all the family dynamics, but whatever your situation is, it's going to be unique, and there's something special about that particular situation. So you're going to have this amazing, experience with a daughter and a son, and this whole beautiful family relationship, or if you have to choose or if you choose to have more kids. But there's also this, like, on the other side of that, there's, people with I know someone with, like, 4 sons, and, like, they have this, like, amazing family dynamic, and people with one son or daughter, like, it's
clothes thing, though, I will say, is, like, a big thing, because I remember when I found out I was a boy, I was like, oh my god, Gemma has the cutest clothes, what am I going to do with it?
Right.
Like, and Dale now has given me all of Luke and Leo's hand-me-down. So I actually have not bought Griffin any clothes.
Okay, that's nice.
It's all been hand-me-downs and
gifts
gifts and all that. So it's been really nice. But that is something, it's definitely a lot more practical, quote-unquote, to have same-sex siblings. But it's funny, all the people I know who have said, I'm going for a third just to try to get the other gender, have all got not that gender.
Yeah, this is why you can't.
And so, let me tell you a story. So today, I went for coffee at Community Goods, which, by the way, if you live in LA, best matcha, you still have to try. But we were talking, and she had a third. She just recently had a third, this girl.
The girl that you ran into.
I bumped into someone, and she told me she just recently had a third. And it was a boy, and she was saying how happy she was because she had 2 girls prior to that. And I was like, would you have been disappointed if you had another girl? Because I knew we were recording this today. She was like, 100%. I would have been mourning that. I would have not shared the news so excitedly. Like, I was so happy to have a boy. And so it is a real, true thing. And everyone has their own shtick. Like, some people can feel more disappointed than others. Like, everyone's entitled to their own opinions and own feelings regarding that gender. But it is something that's, like, very personal.
Yeah, I think when people get what they quote-unquote wanted, they're like, thank God. But they don't realize that if it ended up the other way and that they had that like, once that baby would come, I mean, I would hope that they
love them equally.
They would love them equally, but I know there's this, like,
it's like a
FOMO.
Sting, but it also, like, kind of stings at first. Okay,
I was, by the way, I'm the third daughter. This is why my name is Dale. My parents were convinced I'd be a boy, and I know they were disappointed.
By the way, wait, sorry.
I know they'd be disappointed.
They're disappointed. We have to tell everyone about your name, Dale, and what happened when you were planning your wedding to Nick.
Okay, this is something. So, backtrack. My parents named me Dale. Yes, they thought it was going to be a boy. So that for the first, because back in the day, they didn't find out the gender, back in the day, in the boomer generation. So, first, they were like, hey, this is going to be Dale. Oh, it's a girl. It's going to be Jessica. I'm like, Dale's going to be the next one. So it was like, was a girl? No, we're going to name her Erica. And then the third, they're like, boy or girl, it's going to be Dale, but we know it's going to be a boy. Out comes me. And I feel like growing up, and they're like, this is going to be Dale. My dad especially, like, wanted me to, like, he really wanted a son, and it was apparent, like, he would get these, like, cars and these trucks. And I just was, like, so, like, it would make me so angry. And I feel like I felt that. But obviously they said they loved having 3 daughters.
And it's funny how you have 2 sons.
And now I have 2 sons. And, like, okay, you have a chance, like, for me, like, you're going to have grandkids. You're going to have daughter-in-laws. Like, there's going to be people to pass down your nice things to. Like, it's not just, so, yeah, it's.
Okay, wait, tell them the story, though.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I meant to say the story of the wedding. Yeah, so my parents really wanted a boy. It was evident that they named me a boy's name that if people don't meet me in person, they assume who they're talking to is a male.
Like, via email, they say,
hi. To the point where my wedding contracts were sent to me and my husband, like, groom and groom, Mr. Dale and Mr. Nick Stabler. Like, it was the whole thing. I was like, I'm female, but I appreciate the open
We kind of digressed on that, but I thought that was a funny story. But something I want to talk about, too, is that when I found out my first baby was a girl, I was convinced she was a boy, and I really wanted a boy for my first because I felt like so many of the kind of issues that I went through in my life were to do with me being a girl, right? So there was the perfectionism and body image and always needing to be prim and proper and like a lot of that stuff to do with like being a woman. So when I found out Gemma was a girl, I was actually really sad because I was like, oh my God, is she now going to have to go through those things that I went through? because they too take a very emotional toll on you.
It's a responsibility that I'm like kind of relieved that I don't have.
Listen, and I understand boys go through it too in different ways, but I just felt, because I'm a girl and we've experienced being a girl and growing up as a girl. So I was actually like so kind of nervous and sad that I was going to have a girl, because I was nervous on the type of
pressure.
Mom. Yeah, the pressure, and I just like didn't want her to have to go through the experiences I went through. And listen, she's her own kid. Who knows if she's going to go through them? But that's just like another perspective on that too. And now I understand, like, I really do believe that our children are mirrors of us, and they show us like what we need to work on. So I'm like, oh no shit, I got a girl, because I have things I still need to work on, right? So I again believe that like you get what you kind of need to go through again, kind of reparent yourself. Does that make sense?
I think, I think I saw this quote once that was like, if you have a girl, you like will learn how to love yourself. If you have a boy, it's like you learn what true love is. Like, it was something like the girl will teach you how to like heal you to love yourself, and that's what you need, but then the boy will teach you what true love is.
I love that.
Which is like it's so sweet, but it's a good way to think of it. And
honestly, the boy is like, I find for me, because my daughter is such a daddy's girl, and I'm like, when I see Griffin, I'm like, you are for me. You are a mama's boy.
But that's how I feel too, because my oldest son is a daddy's boy, and I know that the younger one is going to be a mama's boy. But
well, I want him all to myself. I never want him to leave the house. He's living with me forever, and that's it.
But there is definitely this, like, I feel like this pressure with girls that I feel a little bit relieved not to have to handle, but I also feel like I have this responsibility to raise like boys that are like, you know, respectful and like just behave a certain way. And I feel like it can be scary as a boy mom too. First of all, they're really like, they're jumping off the walls. It can be like dangerous. But also, like, as they grow up, like, pregnant. Yeah, exactly. Like, you have a responsibility. Like, you know, as a woman, like, you better, I'm going to teach you how to do dishes. I'm going to teach you how to fold laundry. Like, this is not going to be a toxic male situation over here. Like, you're going to learn how to express your emotions.
Yeah, and you're also going to learn how to take care of women. Like, one thing I want to start when Griffin's old enough is that, like, Valentine's Day, he's bringing me flowers. Like, I don't care.
Problem with Leo's birthday's Valentine's Day. He's like, well, I want a friend.
No, but like we gotta teach him how to be gentlemen, and like getting flowers for like Mother's Day or birthdays, or he's gonna be taking me out on date nights. Like, I'm gonna teach him how it's done. And like,
here's the credit card in advance, and you just pull it out.
When you are going on a date with a girl, you are going to her house to pick her up.
You're getting out of the car.
You're gonna
introduce yourself to the parents.
I can't believe that. I'm still praying that Dale and I have some sort of arranged marriage with our kids.
Try for it.
Once I said that on social media, by the way, and someone was like, aren't you guys related? That's so weird. I'm like, no, we're not related. We're just best friends. Okay, question for you. When you thought about your life when you were younger, like in your teens, early 20s, did you have like a vision of what your family would be? And if so, did it have like, was there 2 girls in that vision? Was there a boy and a girl, 2 boys?
I always thought I'd have a girl first, because that's what my sisters had. I grew up with girls, so I always thought I'd have a girl. I really did think I'd have 3. I thought I had 3 kids. But then as I had the first kid, I was like, I think 2 is enough for me and our family. Again, not sure what the future is going to hold, but I am like 85% there. What about, sure. What about you?
Yeah, I just thought I'd have 2 girls, like how it was for my family, but I'm very happy. My heart is very full with both, and I do think I might want a 3rd.
I think you're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not now. I mean, who knows, like, what the universe wants, but I don't think I think once the kids are in school, so like probably a longer age gap than what I currently have.
Yeah.
But I definitely don't think you expected the age gap that you have.
Right, I didn't. And like looking back, it wasn't.
By the way, if you haven't listened to our first episode ever, on this podcast, we launched with this episode. Dale kind of opens up about
my second pregnancy and like finding out, and that was a little earlier than expected. And like looking back, I'm like, it's one of those things where you're like, I was so shocked, but also like I'm not an idiot. I know how babies are made. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, am I really that shocked? But it does sometimes take you by surprise, and I know a lot of people deal with that. But now I am really grateful for having gone through it and excited to see their age gap.
What's their age gap?
Actually 19 months to the day. I thought it was going to be a little shorter, but Luke came on his due date, and I will say, I was going to say that I really feel that also with age gaps, similar to genders, a lot of people have this, it's so, there's such a grip on the perfect age gap, the perfect setup, that 2 years apart, 3 years apart, 1 year apart, well, maybe not 1 year apart, but, you know, there is this, like, we have such a fixation on making sure that our kids are going to be close due to their age gap, or that we need a larger age gap, or whatever it is. I think that there is this also, like, when you have one kid especially, people are going to ask, well, when's your second? It's already, like, been 2 years, and people, that's also really impactful and
it's
can
triggering,
be really
because a lot of people are going through fertility issues with
100%.
The second time around.
Or they don't even, it's
or
either,
they might not want one.
Exactly, and, like, you don't know what someone's going through, and I think that also insinuates to someone who is on the receiving end of that comment that, well, in order to have, like, the perfect family, it has to be structured like this, and you're missing out. And I think that really gets to people.
Yeah, I think intentionally I wanted a shorter age gap. Not this short, but I definitely wanted them closer in age. But again, it's like, it's not always what we want. We're not in control a lot of the time. Yes, where you understand how babies are made, but the universe or whoever you believe in is deciding on when exactly this is going to happen for you. And I do believe that the timing is just right for your family when that happens. And that's what you have to hold on to.
I completely agree, and I think, and I always repeat to myself, for anyone who's maybe, you know, disappointed about gender, or feeling like a little inkling that they're missing out, or having FOMO, or whatever it is, it wasn't what you expected, I will say that one thing that always keeps me put it in perspective, other than the obvious being grateful, is you have the kids you're meant to have. So when I learned that this was meant to be, when I think this was meant to be, it always puts me in such a headspace of I'm not missing out, because this was what was meant for me. So I think you really have the kids that you're meant to have, and
no, I agree. And I also like how you say when your kind of canned response when someone says that, just like, actually I'm really happy with my 2 boys.
But someone gave me a new idea, which I'm gonna do, and I feel like you guys should use this too, especially to shut down, like, the boomers and the annoying people. Is when someone's like, are you going to try for a third, like, to see if you get a girl or a boy, say, actually, I'm going to try for another third of the same another girl or another boy, the same gender.
And
just to throw people off. If someone says that to me next time, are you going to try for a girl? I'll be like, I would try for a third, but unless it's guaranteed to be a boy. So I really want to try this. I'm just waiting for the next time someone asks.
Honestly, I would love to just see a boomer's face when you say that. They'd be, like, shocked.
Yeah, boomers are... we need a whole podcast episode on boomers. I have so much to say about the way they grandparent, everything.
Yeah, it's funny to see how our parents raised us and how we're now raising our kids. It's like such a different... I don't know. There's a lot more access, too, that we have, a lot more products, a lot more access to information. You got ChatGPT to tell us everything. It's just a very different dynamic, so we definitely need to do a whole podcast.
Well,
but anyway, those are our thoughts about gender disappointment and gender, but if we miss anything, please let us know.
And write to us in the DM. We love when you listen to our podcast episodes and share your feelings. So our DMs are open, and
this is one I feel like there's going to be a lot of people's stories. I'm sure a lot of you have had comments about your current kids situation, and if people are asking if you're going to have a girl or boy. So let us know.
Bye guys.
Okay. So what are we doing we're recording one more, just a different episode. Okay, so on preschool.
I have I'm going to talk about like the different kinds of preschools, and like making sure you find a preschool that aligns with your values.
What surprises most about the preschool process? That surprised me a lot. Honestly, Wilshire was like not even an application, but remember the center was like it was like you had to like prove yourself.
All religious and temple schools don't really have the essay style.
We should talk about cost, schedule, and location, like the factors at play.
Should we say that we go to Jewish schools, so we have to do in the temple, or no?
No. Let's just keep
I thought you got them.
No. I think we should also talk about like maybe how you prepare your kids to go to preschool, like that storybook thing that Shard. Did you see that?
Oh yeah. Okay, that's a good idea, and like even like drop off and.
Oh, that's like one of the big things, like having a parking lot.
Yeah, it's true. And also thinking about like this one school I went to, I can say it's like they had the worst parking situation, and like that affects your day to day. It's 3 hours.
Toddler programs to check out the school. Okay. Good. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So today we are going to be talking about preschool. So Dale and I have not talked about this before on a podcast, and a lot of you have asked, but we wanted to go through it ourselves, like the entire process.
And get in before you were so I'm just kidding.
No, we wanted to go through the process of applying to preschool, getting into preschool, and all that before we recorded the podcast on it. Just to be clear, our kids have not yet gone to preschool. My daughter is almost 2, and Leo is 2
in a few months. They start in the fall.
They start in September. We are both going to different preschools, although we would have loved to be in the same preschool. We also realize our kids are different, and that's something that we should talk about too, Dale, is that like, I would have loved to just go to your school.
I know, I did think about checking out yours.
But the thing is Gemma is a lot more of an introvert when it comes to people. Like she gets very overwhelmed when there's so many people, and I totally understand that because I can also get overwhelmed in a big group, whereas Leo loves people. He actually does even better when there's more people in the room.
He loves a crowd.
Yeah.
Like remember Halloween?
Yes.
He was like crowd. Dove first into the crowd.
Whereas Gemma like shies away from it. So I think it's just listening to our kids' cues, and obviously they're a little too young now to tell us what they want, but we can kind of get cues from them to let them guide us. So we are not going to the same preschool because of that pretty much reason. I'm going to a smaller one.
Is a little closer to me too.
Yeah.
Also proximity.
But like they're like 4 minutes apart,
true.
Honestly, in the end of the day. But again, little cues for our kids.
And this episode we're going to focus on mostly Los Angeles preschools, because I know New York is a bit different in some other places, although I'm sure there are a ton of similarities, and I do know some intel with the New York scene. But one of the major differences between LA and a lot of other cities is that there's no wait lists. So yes, once you apply, if you don't get in, you can get waitlisted, but there's no system where before you apply, you get on the wait list. You know, when people start talking, I heard you have to get on the wait list, but when you're pregnant. That's not how it works here. How it works here is you all apply at the same time, and there's hundreds and tens and tens of schools within the LA preschool district. They're like part of a committee. So you all apply at the same time, and you find it on the same day, with the exception of there are other schools outside of that. But the key to getting into these schools is going to their toddler programs. And these are typically...
That doesn't always guarantee you.
That does not guarantee you getting in, but it really, really helps that you show interest in the schools. So that is the way. It's kind of like our version of a wait list. Doesn't necessarily guarantee you're going to get in, but it does help your chances when applications are being decided.
Yeah, I will say the thing about the toddler program, it's almost for us, it's better because
Agreed.
I thought I wanted to go to certain schools, and then I went to the toddler program, and I was like, no, that's not for me. I think it's really important for you to test the school in their toddler programs, like how do they talk to you? How do they email you? What is their communication like? How are the teachers like? How are the grounds like? How is the vibe you get? I'm a big energy person, so when I step foot somewhere and I'm like feeling like this is like off, like probably not going to be the case. But also like the parking, how is it getting in and out of the car?
There are so many schools I did not go to because of the parking. Because you're literally pick up and drop off 3 hours apart, and you're not going to spend...
I know. I have, by the way, had no idea that preschool was only, at least the ones we're going to, is from like 9 to 12, 3 hours. I honestly thought it was a lot longer. And I'm like, you're telling me I'm paying this money for 3 hours?
Yeah, it's crazy. By the time you're dropping them off, you're picking them up.
So yeah, if they don't have good parking, that's a hard one.
Yeah, there was one that the parking was terrible. So I asked them, like, is there like a secret lot? Like, how does everyone park here? And they're like, oh, you just like kind of count the parking tickets into the tuition. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? No, like, I'm not getting a $65 ticket every day to drop my kid off to school and then pick up.
And I have to be stressed, like, about
Yeah, and it also, I think about it, like, I think there's a few things, and this is what I hear. Like, I think, yes, there are certain, like, names to preschools, and you're like, this is a good feeder school to that preschool, to that school. But at the end of the day, I've heard that the happiness is really rooted in, like, convenience and ease. So, yes, and also good school. Like, you want to make sure that you kind of hit those three that have a good balance. But there were schools that I'm like, I'm not willing to sacrifice my mental sanity, like the parking and also the afternoon program I did not want to do because of having the 2 kids and then just the nap, in order just to have the name of that preschool. And because this is something where it's freaking preschool at the end of the day. It's not the biggest deal.
So what are the things that you like took into account when you're looking for them? So other than the like proximity
to my house,
the parking situation.
The parking, I would say a big one was the values of the school. So there's tons of different kinds of schools. There's Montessori schools, there's more academic schools, there's schools that have more of a religious affiliation.
And there's schools that are like super emphasis on just play.
Yeah, so whatever, you should decide like what your family values are and like the way you want your kid to learn in their environment. So that was a big one for me. And then the last one was really the families that go there, because this is what I was told was your whole social life, because they go to the birthday parties and this and that, and the school events is going to be a lot of it for your kids at the school. So I think seeing the families there is a big thing.
That's why the Toddler and Me Again is like super important.
Oh yeah, so let's explain the toddler programs, because I was so confused when Leo was young, like what toddler program?
So yeah, all the schools that I applied to except for one, they don't have toddler programs. They had these like toddler programs or once a week,
like an hour and a half,
some sort of like class. Some of them were sensory, some of them were just bonding, some of them were music related, and you just go with your kid. It's like a Mommy and Me for toddlers.
Some have like a therapist and they do these like circle like chats.
I never went to
that. I did a couple of them, and they're like, a therapist comes, you chat while the kids play and they're being watched.
Yeah,
but it was also really good. I really liked it, especially when Luke came into our world, because it gave me like that guaranteed time a week, which I thought was going to be like an annoying part of the week, was actually something I really look forward to.
Yeah. I just really look forward to getting intel on the preschool, like when I was going to the Toddler and Me. Like every time I was there, I was like, oh, noted, like it was just like good intel for me when I made my choice. But I really didn't realize how much of like a hoopla I was to get into preschool. And I always told Dale this, I am not going to let this whole preschool thing affect me. She'll get in where she gets in. I'm not going to try to force. I'm not going to try to get reference letters from friends who are already in there. Like, it's preschool.
I agree. I did not do that whole reference thing. Like, I was like, whatever.
Some people told me to do that, and I was like, am I seriously going to force it? I really wanted her to get in where she would want, like, where they would want her versus, like, I had to force. Another thing I wasn't expecting was some of the application questions were so, like, personal to our family. Like, they don't even know Gemma. They never met Gemma, but they were like interviewing us.
Right.
And it felt like I was getting into
It's
preschool.
more about the family. Like, that's what everyone says. The preschool interview is more about the family, and the kindergarten interviews are about the kid. So, and then the worst is when everyone tells you, just wait for the kindergarten interviews.
Comment. Love that.
Because that is like, preschool is nothing. And it's like, I see the stress of these kindergarten parents, and that was also something I took into consideration, because some of the schools that I saw, some of the parents were such tiger moms.
What do you mean by tiger?
So tiger mom is like feeder school, and like has to get into this school, and that's going to end up in Ivy League college, and like that's just so not my energy. I'm like, listen, if both my kids are type A kids that maybe are like really high academic achievers, and I need to find something that's challenging for them, awesome. But the last thing I'm gonna force on them is one of these like insane schools like the Harvard Westlake types, if they're not that kind of kid. And I don't know, they're obviously too young. Like, maybe they will be, maybe they won't be. But some of these moms, it's like they have to go to this school because that feeds into that school, and then and then they'll get into Penn. It's like, that's just so.
By the way, I don't even
far-fetched.
know if our children, maybe I'll just speak for my own,
are gonna end up going to these.
Like, my husband dropped out of school when he was 19, and that was very like taboo at that time, because everyone kind of graduated at that time in our social circle. But you know what? He turned out great. He started his first company at 19, and he's doing amazing, and he's one of the most successful people I know.
Yeah, he is.
So like, I just don't think our kids, like, I think experience is a lot more valued now versus schooling. Like, I think
Agreed.
you learn a lot more outside. And yes, every kid is different, but I just think, how many years from now would they be in college? Like 20 years?
Yeah, like.
You never know what's going to happen.
50. Yeah, it's
but
funny.
By the way, going to your point, there are a lot of people who get preschool consultants, which I had never heard of in my
I had
life.
a friend that had one, and I was like, okay, you're going to hire one, and then you'll just meet up with me.
So
and give
tell me
the
what
tea.
a preschool consultant does, because when I first heard of this concept, I was like, wait, you mean for preschool?
So I was like so shocked when I heard about this, but there's literally consultants, and here's the thing, like, it's actually, when I was talking with her, like, helpful to find the right fit for your family. What they essentially do is you talk to them about your values, your needs, location. You pretty much work with them one-on-one to decide which schools would be the best fit for you, and they have all the intel of the schools.
Do they help you get in or not?
And then they help you write your letters. They help you, like, my friend who had a preschool consultant, she knew all the things to get, like, she knew to send the first choice letters. She knew to find people who were, like, on the board. She knew to, like, the right things to say. Like, we ended up at the same place, but she got into every single one, and she said that she was keeping her options open. Who knows? But it was just, like, I think for her it was peace of mind, and also because she's such a busy working mom, she was like, they could help me.
Yeah.
So
to each their own, but it's just something I had never heard of before.
Yeah, and so my Mommy and Me group, when I first had Leo, they were telling us about this, and I was like, that actually, talking about that stressed me out. Like, shit, do I need a preschool consultant? But then after talking to other parents, I realized you don't need one. It can be a helpful tool if you're trying to figure out which school is best for your family and how to get in. But all of my friends, and we all got into the ones that we wanted to get into.
Yeah.
We all got into our first choices.
So Dale was with me at my house when she found out about all the schools, because I think it's like west side LA pretty much, because the east side of LA, like where I live, they didn't do this, but all the west side of schools of LA, they all tell you, it was February 27th, they all tell you the exact same day if you're going to get in or not, which is kind of frustrating, because if you get into a school and their deadline is February 4th, but you don't hear back from the other schools on February 27th, it's like you have to wait. So that's what happens to me.
And some schools make you put deposits down before you find out about the other schools. So
that's what happened to me. We got into a school, and that was going to be my backup if I didn't get into the one that I would find out February 27th. So I actually called the school, and I said, hey, like, I know it's not common practice, but will you give me like a wink wink if I will get in, because I need to put this deposit down if not. So we kind of like figured it out, and I also, had just given birth. So that was a little stressful for me, but it's kind of crazy, the whole craze around preschools.
Yeah, I think the way that some schools make you put a deposit down, they're like banking on the parents' like fears of not getting in, and like from my experience, like everyone does get into like
where they should.
I would say apply to a few, unless you know like for sure. And some schools have an 18-month program that trickles in, and you automatically go to their main program, their preschool. So yeah, I think at the end of the day, it is this like. It's stressful, but it's also kind of exciting, because it's like, it reminded me of like sorority rush. Like, you're literally for your kid. Like, you're literally choosing between a few. You have to be right fit for them. They have to be right fit for you. You match up. Like, that's like your kid's social circle for
okay,
like.
But let me ask you a question. When you were getting those acceptance emails, did you feel it was like a personal reflection of you or your son? Like, were you like, if I don't get in,
I felt like it was my son, but it's not.
Did you personalize it at all? Like, when they didn't accept you at school or put you on the wait list or whatever, did you
No, because I dropped out of their toddler program. So I knew that school wasn't for me, because so what happens is they ask if you want to continue, and I applied to 3 schools. One was my top choice. My second was I really would be happy at that one too if I didn't get into the first. And then the third one used to be my top choice when I first signed up, and then I realized like the glamour of the name was really not, like, the parking was horrible. That was a $65 ticket one. The afternoon program. And then there was all this drama unfolding with the school. So when I didn't get it, so I knew, I was like, I'm not going to send a first choice letter, and I'm not going to continue with their toddler program. So I knew that Leo was not going to, but I was like, what the hell? You didn't want my son? But I already decided on, we got into our first choice, which I was really excited about. But it was awkward because I still kept going to the toddler program of the one that I rejected. And of course because it was a cute program, and of course the day the director was there, and I felt really bad because they were such a sweet school, but They were so nice about it.
Are you nervous at all for Leo to go to preschool? Because I know
Zero.
Leo, you're not nervous. See, the thing is going back to how we started this podcast, my daughter's more of an introvert and Dale's more of an extrovert, her son. And I'm a little nervous because, it's still a lot of people, even though it's a smaller preschool, it's a lot of people versus she's more one-on-one at home. And, yes, she goes to parks, she goes to the classes, she goes to tutu school and things like that. She is exposed to people. But I'm a little nervous. And, we have an IRL community for those of you who are in LA. And one of the girls in our IRL community just shared that she created this, storybook of her daughter's preschool so that she wouldn't feel, too scared to go. So it says, you open the book and it's a picture of her school. And then the next page is, so-and-so is going to school today, and these are her teachers, and there's pictures of everyone, so she can kind of get familiar with the school before actually going, and I thought that was such a great idea. Shout out to Shar. But I think I'm going to do that, because I do...
I think that's a very cute idea. It's like when you
introduce a new sibling, you read them the new sibling books.
I honestly, when I said 0, I feel like it's because of the type of kid Leo is, but if he was, and I don't know how I'm going to feel when the school comes, I'm sure I'll feel nervous, but I think also, if he was more shy, introverted, he'll be like, bye, mama. I'll go off into the park. So I'm like, okay, he'll be fine. But who knows? We could get to school and he could totally freak out.
Are you going to be fine?
I don't know. I wonder. I mean, I'm here, we're recording. I had a morning of work outside of the house. It's been more than 3 hours.
But that's different because you know that there are one-on-one or two-on-one
that's
with
true.
Any, it's
that's
more
true.
Comfort. Versus at school, it's
I'm definitely ready, but I'm sure it'll be emotional.
To just drop them off and leave.
Yeah. Because it's a milestone. You're like, wait, how are you not a baby anymore? And it is it is, but...
I know, it's going to also be funny how you get them all ready for school. They're going to have to eat breakfast pretty quickly, at least for me, because mine is further than your school, from your house to the school.
You can also bring, you should do? You should make a smoothie and put it in this gross movie straw cup.
Oh.
And a snack and have it on the way.
Yeah.
Save you time.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with
both of the schools we're going to have lunch included.
Yeah, that's a huge plus.
Huge plus. And it's actually organic.
It's organic.
Yeah.
That's a huge plus, and I will say a lot of schools did not offer that.
Yeah, it's a huge plus to not have to think about preparing their lunch. So.
Yeah.
And it's built into the tuition, which is nice, I guess.
Yeah, the schools. Oh, we should talk about pricing because a lot of people ask. I feel like.
Yeah. So both of us are, by the way, going to private preschools.
I think there's only private.
Okay, because a lot of people ask us, do you choose private or public? And I mean, I went to private school growing up. Did you go to private school?
I went to private school for part of it, and then public, and then
But I live in Beverly Hills in LA, and I've heard amazing things about their public schools. We've talked about this. So, I mean, who knows, for elementary, I might go to public schools. I think they're great schools as well. I think for elementary, high school, moving forward, I just want to make sure she's very grounded. And I don't know what schools will do that because I'm not from LA and I don't know enough about the LA school system. But I want to make sure that she goes to a school where she stays grounded in the midst of, the LA Hollywood buzz.
Yeah, no, it's so true because I think there's pros and cons to both. I was speaking to one of my friends who's very successful, went to the top school, and she said that when she went to a private school, and they diagnosed her with a lot of issues early on. And had the school not paid such attention to it, she's like, I don't think a public school would have caught that. So I see...
ADD, ADHD.
Exactly. And she's like, maybe I wouldn't have succeeded as much as I did. And she's quite literally one of the most, impressive people. But then the other flip side is that I think people who can thrive anywhere, if you are smart, I just think that with the private school system that less people fall behind. And I don't know, I do
There's just
think
a lot of pressure.
And a lot of my friends will be doing the K-6 public and then 7 to 12 private. It's a lot of pressure.
Huge cost difference.
Oh, I mean, it's huge.
How much is school and how much is elementary school?
50, 60K.
A year?
A year. And then you've got multiple kids.
Let's just say, to preface this, is that Dale and I are Canadian, and we went to school in Canada. I don't know about you, but for me, I think it was $5,000 a semester.
Oh wow. Okay, no, it was not like that in Toronto. Toronto was close. Toronto was like 30 to 35K
really?
a year. Yeah.
Oh,
but that's also Canadian. Maybe now it's 35. Maybe it was 25K growing up, which is half of the cost.
Yeah, but
half.
It's so crazy to me, like the difference between the Canadian system and the U.S. Like Dale and I didn't even have to take SATs to go into college.
Oh, thank God! And there's no public-private colleges; they're all public.
Yeah.
There's no distinction. They're like cheap.
So it's just it's a very different world here that we are gonna have to learn.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget. My cousin went to Harvard Westlake, and I would never forget at her graduation. It started at 9, the graduation. So we went at 7:45, 8 to get seats for the graduation. And we got there, it was like an hour before starting. I thought I was gonna get the front row. Let me tell you that all the nannies, all the people were there. I got the 15th row, okay? And I was there an hour early. And while I was there, and then all the people started to come in, it was always like, oh, where's your daughter going? Mine's going to Yale, mine's going to Princeton, mine's going to Harvard. And it was so, like, that talk, and I was like, holy shit.
Oh, my God.
Like, it was very intense, and that's the only kind of experience I have of schools in LA. So it will be interesting to see how we choose our school path, but I really just, I don't want to add unnecessary pressure onto my kids.
I know.
I want them to kind of tell me or help me, guide me to where they'll thrive, but the pressure is crazy. Like, my cousins used to do so many extracurricular activities. It was like chess, and then piano, and then guitar, and then field hockey, and it was so many things.
It's so many, yeah. Nick grew up in LA, so he went through the private school system, and his school was very intense, his school growing up. But that's very him, and like he never had to be pushed to study. His parents would find him in his room just studying, just like like everything was checked, every box was checked off. That's not my personality. He would thrive in that environment. I would not thrive in that environment. And after speaking to graduates of schools like Harvard Westlake and whatever, like some of these kids have such deep trauma. They're like they still have issues to this day as like in their 30s because of the pressure when they were forced into a school system that was not right for them. And I think our generation, hopefully, who's like a little more aware of and in tune, we can like assess what is right for our kids and not be so upset if they don't get into these top schools that are just not right for them.
Yeah, it's also what I'm learning, and even though our kids are still young, it's just really listening to them and letting them guide us. There's many cues that you can pick up from your kid, even at this young age. They're constantly like giving us information, and it's up to us to like take that information and then use it in their like class choices and schooling choices and all that. Like even now, I'm finding we did this class and there was just too many kids in a small space, and I pulled her out of the class now because I'm like, let's try to find something else that's a lot more like, more space to kind of be yourself and have more one-on-one attention. But it's all about like picking up the cues and then like parenting from that. It's also like human design, which I'm a huge fan.
Human design. If you haven't listened to our human design episode, highly recommend.
Yeah, and you can understand what type of design your child is, and you can parent based on that. It's really amazing. So anyway, those are our thoughts on preschool. But yeah. We're very new at this.
We'll keep you posted once our kids actually start and like how
it goes. Yeah, I think I'm going to be a little bit emotional. A lot emotional, but...
Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.